Imagine you are driving home after a long day at work. You are following every traffic rule. You stop at every red light, your seatbelt is on, you're doing nothing wrong. Then suddenly, you see flashing lights in your rearview mirror. A police officer pulls you over. Maybe it was a broken taillight. Maybe it was a minor lane change. You stay calm, roll down your window, and cooperate. But then the officer notices something. You have a legally registered firearm in your vehicle. You have a permit. Everything is completely legal. And then, out of nowhere, the officer says, "I'm going to need to search your car." And you think to yourself, wait, did I do something wrong? Is this even legal? Well, my friend, the Supreme Court of the United States just answered that question, and the answer will absolutely shock you. This ruling changes everything for gun owners, for drivers, and honestly, for every single American citizen. So stay right here, because what you're about to hear could protect your rights the very next time you get pulled over. So let's start from the very beginning. The Supreme Court recently handed down a decision that is being called one of the most important rulings of this decade for civil liberties. And here is the most powerful part about this ruling. It was not a close call. It was not a 5-4 decision where half the court agreed and half disagreed. It was 9-0. Every single justice, from the most conservative to the most liberal, agreed on this one thing. That decision alone tells you how serious and how clear this ruling really is. When 9 people who almost never fully agree on anything come together and say the same thing unanimously, you know that the law is crystal clear. So what exactly did they rule? They ruled that police officers cannot search your vehicle during a traffic stop simply because they suspect you might have a gun, or because you actually do have a legal gun. That is the core of it. Simple, powerful, and absolutely groundbreaking. Now let me break this down in the simplest way possible so that you can understand exactly what this means for you in real life. You have 2 very important rights under the United States Constitution. The first is the Second Amendment. That is your right to keep and bear arms. You have the right to own a firearm legally. The second is the Fourth Amendment. That is your right to be protected from unreasonable searches and seizures. That means the government, including police officers, cannot just randomly search your belongings, your home, or your car without a very good reason. And here is where people have been getting confused for years. Some police officers were using the fact that a person had a gun, even a completely legal gun, as a reason to justify searching the entire vehicle. They were treating legal gun ownership as if it was evidence of a crime. And that, the Supreme Court just said very clearly, is unconstitutional. Your right to own a gun cannot be used to take away your right to privacy. One constitutional right cannot cancel out another constitutional right. That is the message. Let me give you a real example to make this even clearer. Say you are a law-abiding citizen. You went through the proper channels. You got your concealed carry permit. You follow the rules. Now, during a traffic stop, the officer finds out you have a firearm. Under the old way of thinking, some officers would say, well, there's a gun in the car, so I have reason to search the whole vehicle. But according to this Supreme Court ruling, that logic is completely wrong. Having a legal gun is not a crime. Having a permit is not suspicious behavior. In fact, having a permit is proof that you went through a legal process, a background check, and proper training. Using that against you as a reason to search your car is not just unfair, it is now officially unconstitutional. Hey, before we go any further, if this information is already making you think, imagine what else we cover on this channel. Hit that like button right now because it helps more people find this video. And if you want to stay informed about your rights, your laws, and the decisions that directly affect your daily life, then click that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Share this video with a friend, a family member, anyone who owns a gun or drives a car, because this ruling affects all of us. Now, let's keep going. So, what does an officer actually need in order to search your car? The legal term is probable cause. Now, what does probable cause mean in plain English? It means the officer needs to have specific, real, concrete facts that point to a crime being committed. Not a feeling, not a hunch, not nervousness, not the simple fact that you have a gun. They need actual evidence. For example, if an officer smells drugs, that could be probable cause. If they see something illegal in plain view, that could be probable cause. If you have a warrant out for your arrest, that changes things. But simply saying, I think you might have a weapon, or you seem nervous, is not enough. The court was very clear about this. Officers need what is called specific articulable facts. That phrase, specific articulable facts, is very important. It means the officer must be able to clearly explain in specific detail exactly what they observed that made them believe a crime was happening. A general suspicion does not meet that standard. A feeling does not meet that standard. And legal gun ownership definitely does not meet that standard. Now let us talk about nervousness for a moment, because this is something that comes up a lot in these kinds of cases. Almost everyone gets a little nervous when they get pulled over by a police officer. It does not matter if you're completely innocent. Your heart beats a little faster. Your hands might shake slightly. You might stumble over your words. This is a completely normal human reaction to an authority figure approaching your vehicle. In the past, some officers would point to nervousness as part of their justification for a search. They would say, "The person seemed nervous and had a weapon, so I searched the vehicle." But the court said this does not work. Being nervous during a traffic stop is not evidence of criminal activity. Add that to the fact that you legally own a gun, and you still do not have probable cause. Both of those things together, nervousness plus legal gun ownership, are still not enough for a full vehicle search. Now here is something important that people need to understand. This ruling does not mean officers have zero authority during a traffic stop when a gun is present. The court made a very clear distinction between officer safety measures and a full vehicle search. Officers still have the right to protect themselves. If there is a gun in the vehicle, an officer can ask you to step out of the car. An officer can temporarily secure the weapon to make sure the situation stays safe. An officer can take reasonable precautions to ensure their own safety during the stop. All of that is still perfectly legal and acceptable. What they cannot do is use the presence of a legal gun as an excuse to dig through your entire vehicle, open your glove compartment, search your trunk, go through your bags, and look for other things that have nothing to do with why they pulled you over. That kind of broad, sweeping search requires proper probable cause, and legal gun ownership alone does not provide that. This is a very important line that the court drew, and it matters a lot. Okay, pause right here. If you're watching this and you are learning something valuable, I need a favor from you. Smash that like button. It literally takes 1 second, and it tells the algorithm that this content is worth showing to more people. Subscribe if you have not already done so, because we bring you content like this every single week, breaking down the laws and court decisions that directly affect your life. And please share this video, post it in your group chats, send it to your friends, because knowing your rights is only powerful if you actually use that knowledge. All right, back to the ruling. Let us now talk about what this ruling means for people who have concealed carry permits specifically. Some people thought that having a concealed carry permit might give officers extra authority, like maybe the permit itself signals something suspicious. But the court cleared that up too. A concealed carry permit is not a red flag. It is the opposite. It is documentation that you went through a legal process, that you passed a background check, that the state decided you are legally allowed to carry a firearm. It is proof of lawful behavior, not suspicious behavior. So if an officer pulls you over and you inform them you have a concealed carry permit and a weapon on you, that disclosure alone cannot be used to justify a full search of your vehicle. The permit is a legal document. Treating it as probable cause would be completely backwards logic, and the Supreme Court agrees. Now let us also address state notification laws, because this is where some confusion comes in. In some states, you are legally required to inform a police officer if you are carrying a firearm during a traffic stop. This is called a duty to inform law. These laws still apply. The Supreme Court ruling does not eliminate or change state-level notification requirements. So if you live in a state that requires you to tell the officer you are carrying, you still need to do that. Follow your state laws. The difference is this: even after you inform the officer, and even after they know you have a legal firearm, they still cannot use that information alone as a reason to search your entire vehicle. You tell them, they acknowledge it, they take safety precautions, and the stop continues without turning into a full vehicle search unless actual probable cause exists. Know your state laws and follow them, but also know your federal constitutional rights. Now let us zoom out and think about the bigger picture here, because this ruling has implications that go way beyond just gun owners. Think about what this ruling is really saying. It is saying that exercising one of your constitutional rights cannot be used against you. It is saying that being lawful is not suspicious. It is saying that law enforcement must follow clear legal standards and cannot use vague justifications to override your protections. That is a message that applies to all Americans, not just gun owners. This is a civil liberties victory in the broadest sense. It is a reminder that the Constitution exists to protect citizens from overreach, and that courts are here to enforce those protections when they are violated. The fact that this U.S. Supreme Court ruling was unanimous sends a very powerful message to lower courts across the country. When the Supreme Court rules 9-0, it creates what lawyers call strong precedent. That means every lower court in every state must follow this ruling. There is no wiggle room. There's no gray area where a lower court judge can say, well, maybe in this situation the old rules apply. 9-0 means this is the law of the land, period. And that strong precedent will be used in courtrooms across America for decades to come. Do not go anywhere yet, because we are almost done. But first, real quick, let us do the call to action differently this time. Think about somebody in your life, a parent, a sibling, a coworker, a neighbor, who owns a gun legally and drives a car every day. Honestly, that's millions of people across America. Now think about how this information could protect them the next time they get pulled over. Send them this video right now. That one share could genuinely make a difference in someone's life. And while you are at it, drop a comment below telling me what state you are from and whether you think officers in your state have been overstepping during traffic stops. I read every single comment. And of course, hit subscribe so we can keep having these important conversations together. Now, let us talk about what you should actually do in practice if you are a gun owner and you get pulled over. First and foremost, stay calm. Nervousness is natural, but the calmer you are, the better the interaction will go. Keep your hands visible. When the officer approaches, make sure your hands are where they can see them. Be polite and cooperative in your tone and your manner. If your state has a duty to inform law, tell the officer calmly and clearly that you have a firearm and a permit. Do not make any sudden movements. If the officer asks to search your vehicle, you are allowed to politely decline. You can say something like, "Officer, I respect your job, but I do not consent to a search." That is a perfectly legal thing to say. It does not make you suspicious. It means you are exercising your constitutional rights, which is exactly what they are there for. If the officer searches your vehicle anyway without your consent and without proper probable cause, do not argue at the scene. Do not escalate the situation. Let it happen, keep yourself safe, and then immediately contact a lawyer afterward. Document everything you remember. Write down the officer's badge number, the time, the location, what was said, and what happened. All of that information will be extremely valuable if you decide to challenge the search later. And based on the Supreme Court ruling, you would have very strong legal ground to stand on. This ruling is also expected to trigger some major downstream effects in the legal world. Civil rights attorneys are already looking at past cases where people were convicted based on evidence found during questionable vehicle searches. Some of those convictions could now be challenged. Police departments across the country are going to need to update their training programs to make sure officers understand exactly where the line is. Lawmakers may also revisit some existing state laws that gave officers broader search authority in situations involving firearms. And we could see an increase in civil lawsuits from people who believe their Fourth Amendment rights were violated during past traffic stops. This one ruling has the potential to reshape how traffic stops are handled across the entire country. All right, we are getting close to the end now. Let me just take one more second to say this. If you have made it this far in the video, you are clearly someone who takes their rights seriously. And that matters. An informed citizen is a protected citizen. Knowing the law is the first step to being able to use it when you need it. So here's my final call to action for you today. Like this video, if it gave you value, subscribe to this channel if you want to stay informed about your legal rights, court decisions, and laws that directly affect your everyday life. Share this video with at least one person who you think would benefit from knowing this information. And leave a comment below, because I want to know what you think about this ruling. Do you think it goes far enough? Do you think it will actually change how police behave on the road? Tell me in the comments. I am reading all of them, and I genuinely want to hear your perspective. At the end of the day, the Supreme Court just reminded all of us that the Constitution is not just a piece of paper. It is a living shield. A shield that protects your rights, even when you are sitting in a car on the side of the road at 11 o'clock at night. Your Second Amendment, right to own a gun, does not cancel your Fourth Amendment right to privacy. Those two rights exist together, and they must be respected together. 9 justices, 0 dissent. The message could not be any clearer. Know your rights, exercise your rights, and protect your rights, because no one else is going to do it for you. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video.